Hello, welcome back to Drippy Drez's podcast. In today's audio, I will be talking about masculinity. As you all know, I am against toxic masculinity. I am a firm believer that men should get emotionally attached to things and to experience them the way they see benefit. I'm also someone who sees past the lies that parents tell their kids so that they can enjoy the breakfast club. As I have mentioned, there are mistakes that I made with masculinity when I was younger. One of them is that whenever I didn't like another guy's behavior or his way of thinking, I would point out how it could come across as gay. As a result, I ended up calling a lot of behaviors and thinking patterns gay when nobody would have thought of them as gay if I didn't say anything. Of course, that didn't change the way people perceived stuff, but it did upset them. Those who know me are probably thinking, that's what I was trying to tell you. Those who don't are either reflecting on mistakes they've made or thinking, that's what I was trying to tell that person. Look, what I did was bad. What that person did was bad. But asking them to empathize with everyone is bad. Not as bad as calling everything gay, but still bad in its own right. Now, asking a male to dumb himself down and to be less defensive does make him feel uncomfortable in his masculinity. So if that's what you were really trying to do when you were explaining something, you weren't any better. Common misbelief is that you can't control other people. Another common misbelief is that you shouldn't. The truth is that controlling other people is a part of life. It's not about whether or not your way of thinking or way of making decisions controls other people that determines whether or not they're toxic. It is about how they control other people that determines whether or not they're toxic. If someone is getting bullied or if they feel that someone was rude to them, they have the right to stand up for themselves. If you don't like the way they are doing so, that's not your thing to worry about. Everyone should learn how to stand up for themselves. Not only that, but people who say these things should say them for the right reasons. As far as masculinity goes, it's not about whether or not someone is masculine or feminine. It is about whether or not someone is a positive role model. If somebody, including me, doesn't think that a guy is a positive role model, instead of saying he's not masculine, they should point out how toxic his behaviors are. However, just because somebody is a positive male role model doesn't mean that other people have the right to project their negative beliefs onto him. And yes, empathizing with everybody does count as a negative belief. Empathy is supposed to be a term that describes the ability to understand how other people feel, but instead it's referred to as indulging yourself in someone else's emotions or feeling the same way as someone else. For those of you who are like, what's wrong with feeling the same way as someone else? There's nothing wrong with that, as long as you both have the same goals in life, and as long as you both have the same amount of knowledge on a topic. As far as masculinity goes, let's face it, men are expected to respect women nowadays. Because of this, there are a lot of people who go around talking about how men deserve love and respect, which would be great if they had the right definition of what it means to love and respect someone. Just because someone isn't upset about something doesn't mean that they're happy, and just because someone has never tried something before doesn't mean that they won't enjoy it. Now, what's wrong with asking someone to empathize with everyone? Because most of you are only doing it because of Shrek 2, and a lot of guys have some very traumatic memories from watching that movie as a kid. They were already forced to ruin their own lives in one way. You need to force them to ruin their lives in another. Toxic masculinity not only needs to end, but along with it, the idea that all guys will go about things the same way. This doesn't mean that anyone is better than anyone, it just means that we're all different. Some of you who are listening are actually listening. The rest of you are worried about some poor, underprivileged person who doesn't understand what I am saying. If that's the case, then I would recommend the movie We're the Millers, but please, for the sake of your mental health and for my channel, Do not watch the scene with the cop or the scene with the spider bite. As long as you skip past those scenes, the movie does go to show that you're only a loser if you present yourself as a loser. For those of you who are thinking, what about a movie that makes a point on getting fears and anxieties over things? I do not know any movies for that. I do know a special, and that special is called The Muppets Haunted Mansion, and it's available on Disney Plus, but I do not know a movie. The lesson of the special is that it's not about whether or not you get fears and anxieties over things that determine if you're brave or not. It's about whether or not you face those fears and anxieties that determine whether or not you're brave. Hopefully, once people learn how to face their fears and anxieties, toxic masculinity will go away. We're the Millers is available on Hulu. There, you happy? You couldn't look that up yourself? Well, thank you all so much for listening. Thank you for hitting that like and subscribe button. Thank you for leaving comments in the comment section below. I will talk to you all next week, Friday.